The funerals we have today offer comfort and closure to those left behind, but we're missing a vital part of the ceremony. Thousands of years ago in Portugal, a beautiful ritual not only healed the community, but also guided the spirit of the deceased. This spirit encounter invites you to rethink how we honor life's final journey by witnessing the ancient work of the soul singer. Our ancient ancestors had a tangible bond with nature and the cosmos. That bond is broken. Join me, Shaman Eagleheart, as I connect with spirits who want to share their advice about how we rebuild this bond. One of the most spectacular sites of the Iberian Peninsula is in north-central Portugal. It's called Anta do Tapadão, and it's the second largest dolmen in Portugal, about an hour-and-a-half drive north of Évora. Let me tell you, it was not easy to find. It was on Google Maps, but there was no roadside signage, and it was sort of just marked out into the middle of some field. Well, after driving around a bit, I asked for some spirit help. Stop there and walk through the gate. So I pulled off to the side of the road, and I went through the gate. There was a second gate and a large herd of cattle staring at me. They stared at me for a long time, and then they just bolted away. They ran up a hill, and then all at once they stopped, and they looked to their left. And there it was, the dolmen that I was looking for. There was a third gate and a small fence that protected the site. So I stopped there and I made my ceremony, introducing myself, stating my intention, and asking for permission to enter. Now on the eastern side, there are the remains of what was once an 11-meter-long entrance passage. It was lined with smooth granite stones, and they were big. Each one was like about 2 meters long. Now, back in Neolithic times, this would have been a tall passage that you could actually walk through to enter the dolmen. But now it's collapsed and mostly filled in. So I looked down the little opening, and it was still a direct passage into the dolmen, and I could crawl on my belly, but then I noticed that there was a massive amount of rabbit poo. So, trying to figure out what to do, I started to tune into the other world, and I began to hear music and laughter coming down the passageway from inside the dolmen. I decided not to risk the mud and the rabbit poo, and so I walked up the hill to the outside of the dolmen. You know, you don't really appreciate the immense size of this dolmen until you get up right next to it and you look inside. The orthostats that form the chamber are recessed into the ground, and they are massive, like about 4 meters tall. So from where I'm standing at the outside, it's about 1.5 meter drop to get inside. My sight whispering was starting to kick in, and I was there kind of outside the dolmen. Now, my awareness was shifting to an ancient time. In this time, the dolmen is completely covered over. So as I tried to orient myself in this other world, I noticed that there were some spirits milling about at the base of the mound near the entrance to the tunnel. So I made my way down to one of the men who was standing apart from all the others. He noticed that I was looking back up at the top of the mound, and he asked me, "Are you here for the ceremony?" I said that I was here to learn about this site, and he said, "Well, what do you want to know?" And so I asked, "Well, how did you build this dolmen?" And his answer came back quite matter-of-factly, "The giants helped us." Okay, giants, that's a whole nother story. So I also noticed there was a lot of milk quartz everywhere, and I asked about that. "It holds the songs," was his reply. And then the singing inside stopped, and all the spirits rushed through the passage into the chamber. So it makes sense for me to follow them, easy in their time. But in my time, the passageway is no longer navigable. So I had to shift my consciousness back to the present time and try to figure out a way inside. I walked back up to the exposed dolmen. There were gaps in the stones, so I could probably jump down into the chamber. But could I climb back out? The dolmen's about 4 meters across, and to the right of the entry stone, it looked like there was a way to climb out. So I jumped. From our world to theirs, and from our time to theirs. When I landed, I was in their world again, some, 5,000 years ago. So I made my way around to the south, past the passageway. It was daytime, and sunlight came into the chamber, but the top of the light was cut off by the gateway stone above the entrance. This huge stone had been cut and fitted into place to form a doorway, and this meant that everyone had to bow down to enter. I looked around and I counted the large orthostats. There were 7 of them, supporting this huge stone roof. In the ancient time, these tall stones were decorated. They had leaves and branches and flowers, and there were some drawings on them. I can remember some spirals and some other symbols. In the very center of the dolmen was a bundle of human bones on a bed of milk quartz. And there were 4 small fires that were being tended to by young boys who were keeping the fires burning really brightly by continually putting small sticks into the fires. And the bones, they were decorated with crystals and leaves and flowers. And food was laid out, and people were drinking from little pottery cups. I don't know, maybe wine or beer. I could sense that this gathering was a mix of family and friends of the person who belonged to the bones. Now, out of respect for the ceremony that was going on, I kept to the walls and I just kind of watched. Now, opposite the entry and behind the western fire, there was a shaman with a drum, maybe more like a troubadour, his huge shadow dancing off the back wall, and he was drumming and singing. The acoustics were absolutely amazing. Everyone was joining in with the chorus. It was fast, and I couldn't really make out what they were singing. It was something like, "You were the man who climbed the hill, who had the thing," I don't know, something like that. And then they stopped, and the drum rhythm slowed, and the singer asked a prompting question from the people that were there to remember something about the deceased person. Then there was a woman who piped up, and she offered a story about the guy swimming through a flood to rescue a child. Well, when she finished, the shaman picked up the tempo, gave her story a rhyme scheme, and turned it into a verse. And then one phrase out of that verse got added to the chorus, and everyone joined in again. So, "You were the man who climbed the hill, who had the thing, who saved the child." And it kind of went on like that. So I was standing on the south side of the chamber, and I noticed that there was a spirit directly across from me, looking right at me. So I made my way over to him, and I said, "What's happening?" And he explained that they call this singing the life. It's a ceremony that they do to sing the life of the person. It can go on for a whole day, or even a couple days, however long it takes to sing the life of this man. So I asked him, why do they do this? And he said, well, we come into this life with amnesia, but we don't want to go into the next life like that. So we're teaching my grandfather the song of his life, so that when he goes into his next life, he'll remember who he was. He'll know his song. The spirit explained that this shaman is a specialist. This is his gift. He goes from village to village to sing the life of those departed. He's fed and housed, and then he moves on and he continues his service. I remember I stood there just hearing the song of life, thinking about how cool it was that they had this tradition, ensuring that the essence of one's existence would never again be lost to the amnesia of birth. For me, this is a testament to the enduring power and memory of song, a reminder that we're all part of a continuum, our lives a melody in the greater chorus of existence. Storytelling and music at a funeral does more than honor the deceased. It opens our hearts, it connects us to their journey, and creates a sacred space for love, healing, and letting go. But let's not forget that our loved one is embarking on an extraordinary journey too. A transition beyond this life to whatever lies ahead. For thousands of years, nearly all ancient cultures created ceremonies to facilitate this dual purpose, helping the living find healing and guiding the spirit of the deceased on their journey. Somewhere along the way, we let go of this second part of the process. I've been called by spirits to many ancient burial sites, and I've learned a profound truth. The death rites of our ancient ancestors always served both the community and the deceased, equally and inseparably. Keep in mind that when we play their favorite music and share stories, we are also helping the spirit of the deceased remember their life. This helps them as they transition into the beyond. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a theater director, but I would love for my community of friends to come together for my funeral and teach my spirit the song of my life. If you want to take a deeper dive, there's a free ebook with beautiful lessons and reflections about this spirit encounter on my website, eagleheart.com.au. If you want to experience more ancient wisdom and sound healing, follow, subscribe, and be sure to click the notification bell so that you can join me for more shamanic adventures. If you like this story, there's an entire playlist called Rites of Passage, where Carol Talbot and I revisit several different funeral rituals at sacred burial sites around the world. You might also like Trapped Spirits, the Nun's Judgment, to see what happens in our modern times to some people after death.